Blog Talk Radio.
Welcome to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister and Beth. And you're listening to it on the W.I.N Network. Yes, that's right, W.I.N Network. Together, we win. Stay tuned. It down, afraid to let it out, shackles, the chain, the hurt, the guilt, the stain. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than a victim. I fight, I win. The chains are broken. 'Cause I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together.
Yes, yes. Good evening, everybody, all of our R.E.I.G.N fans. Thank you and for joining us. Welcome to the R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I appreciate your presence here tonight. I appreciate you making time for me and my guests tonight as we talk about some very, very important issues. I am Minister Annie Bell, the host and creator of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, which is an outreach of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated. We are endeavoring to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as providing awareness and resources to the communities abroad, nationally, internationally, to prevent such atrocities. So tonight, the topic is part 2 of the Backpage Murders. Now, the commercial sex industry is a very lucrative industry, whether it's pornography, strip clubs, prostitution, sex trafficking. It is all kept alive and thriving by demand, okay? I'm talking about the purchaser. If there was no John, if there was no one purchasing the pornographic videos or watching the movies or going to the strip clubs, then the commercial sex industry will be kaput. There'll be no need for supply. So when we're talking about how do we protect and our children and our loved ones from these atrocities, then we really have to focus and shift our efforts to those who are purchasing, the Johns, those who are out here demanding this particular thing, whether it be a person, whether it be the video, whatever it is. So we can't just focus on the strip club itself, but the people who come to the strip club. We can't just focus on the trafficker, but those who are coming to the traffickers to ask for certain types of women, certain types of girls and boys. Well, our guest today is another mother of a murder victim who was lured into the business by empty promises and ultimately killed by a John, a purchaser. Commercial sex industry's promise of fast money and the high life really is a trap, is a lure, a bait to the lured and hard living. It's not easy. The commercial industry is not an easy industry to be in, ladies and gentlemen. But here to share her and her daughter's story is Lori Townsend. Please give her a warm welcome of applause. Welcome, Ms. Townsend.
Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. I want to welcome you to the show, but I also want to um, extend my deepest heartfelt condolences about the loss of your daughter. I know that regardless of how much time has passed, it's still an emptiness and it's still a pain. And I really am humbled by your presence here today.
Thank you. Yeah, I have learned to definitely take it one day at a time.
Amen.
People often tell me time heals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that I've let it go and just forgot about it, but I'm learning to live with, what happened and
Yeah.
Africa not being with us anymore.
Right. And it sounds like you have progressed through the grieving process. There's stages of grief. And so it sounds like you have gotten to a healthy place in your grieving process if you have not completed the process already. So I applaud your courage and your steadfastness to continue living and reaching for life. What I want to start out with is I want you to paint a picture because, again, sometimes we can be so hardened with all of the things going on this earth, so much evil, that sometimes we get hardened to the victim. We see them as a victim, but not as a person. So could you share with us and kind of paint a picture of Africa as a child and as a teenager?
Oh my goodness. So Africa was a ball of fire from the moment she came into this world. As a little girl, like she was feisty. She started speaking full sentences by the time she was one. She using big words like "I'm not considering you because you're not considering me."
Oh wow!
She was she was very unique.
Mm-hmm.
She loved to laugh and giggle and sing. When she was little, she loved Veggie Tales. She knew everything, commercials. She could hear it one time and just memorize it, and
wow.
and proceeded through her growing up, and she started to learn how to write little short stories and poetry, and she could walk into a room and everybody would just focus on who is this girl. Like she was beautiful, she had a smile that just could melt the most evil, hearts. She had a passion for music. She loved to sing. That was one of her dreams. She wanted to be, a singer. There was nothing that Africa couldn't do. She had potential beyond the world, She's not just Africa, the person that was murdered. She's my children's sister. She's my daughter. She's my mother's granddaughter. She's her father's daughter. She's a cousin. She's a niece. She's a best friend. She's a person. She's not just she did this, so this is what she is. No, that's not who she
right.
is. She's a person, just like
that's
you,
right.
just like me.
That is so right, and I'm so glad you said that because we don't want to label a person. Just like I don't want to be known as just a radio host. I'm so more dynamic than that, and you are more dynamic than that. And so is Africa. She, may have made one choice to do this one thing, but that is not the whole of her. And so,
exactly.
And that's why I'm just so glad that you painted that lovely picture about this fiery young girl who had aspirations for her life, and so that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. Now, you go from this child, this teen, and she goes to a place where she is now placing ads for sex on Backpage.com. Could you kind of walk us through that transition or what happened there?
I would love to walk you through the transition if I knew exactly that it was happening. My story with Africa, she was here in Denver with me, and she decided that she wanted to go back to Illinois, just to see what being up under mom's wings was like, because me and Africa, we were inseparable. And so she was 19. She's not a child anymore, she's 19. She's a young woman. She knows what she wants, and we were born and raised in Illinois. So okay. So I sent her back, and in the course of her being there for 2.5, 3 months, she knew people, she met new friends, and apparently she met a couple girls who had been already active in Backpage.com. This is a secret that Africa never shared with me. I never knew that my daughter was placing ads on Backpage.com. I had no clue. One day, maybe a couple weeks before she was murdered, she called me on the phone, and she said, "Mom, can you ask my fiance at the time? Can you ask him if he would get me an iPhone? I don't have my ID." And I said, "I'll ask him." She said, "And I'm going to send you money too." I'm like, "Africa, where are you getting this money from if you don't have an ID? You can't work. What are you doing?" She told me she was stripping. Well, okay, so that's in my head, and then I start thinking, my child can't dance, so what is it? And I didn't ask anymore. she couldn't dance, she couldn't. So my head, it fell through. You don't think that, your child is placing, ads on Backpage.com,
right.
Telling guys, or, I'll do this for, whatever. That's not a thought in your head. So you start thinking, the minute things, like, oh, maybe she's out in Chicago. Maybe she's selling weed or whatever, So, okay. So I never ever thought that my child was selling herself off of Backpage.com until I got the fateful phone call. And still then,
now before
I didn't know. Yeah.
Still
then,
before we
get
into that part, then let me ask you. Now, you were you a single mother?
I was a single mother. Africa's father was incarcerated. She's only met him once, maybe twice. He's been incarcerated her entire life. He would write her letters and everything, but that pretty much sums it up. And any man, that I'm not the best choice picker of men, that, not always the best. So she never had a positive male role model of what a man, how's a man supposed to treat a girl, and stuff like that, and to protect her from any harm in the world.
Yeah.
Africa.
Well, I'm glad that there was no past abuse that happened, but I just want to share with you some statistics that fatherless homes, if you look at those who have been incarcerated or are in the commercial sex industry, there is a large percentage in the 80s and 90 percentile of them who have grown up in fatherless homes. And so that in it of itself is traumatic to a child. And I'm going to tell you, as much as my husband and I, we love each other, but he works my nerves. And and I'm sure I work his nerves. But I stay in the marriage and try to put my best feet forward, simply because these statistics are so staggering and they're so scary. And so that could be maybe that little missing puzzle as to why she may have allowed herself to be objectified, is because, like you said, there was no real true father figure. And I'm not saying it's your fault, okay? It's not your fault. It's not that you may have picked the wrong person, or it's just I'm just stating the facts. And you know, those. Then you have to also wonder about her dad. Him being incarcerated. What type of life did he have, and where. What caused him to get to that point of being incarcerated so that he wasn't able to be there with you to help raise this child? We have already gotten to the quarter hour where I have to take a quick break. So, Lori, please stay with us. Audience, please stay with us. We'll be right back in about 2 minutes. Thank you so much.
We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We inspire network. It's not your ordinary radio station. The home of true inspiration. We inspire network.
Have you priced commercials lately? Advertising can truly break your budget. At R.E.I.G.N, we eliminate the most common hurdle to advertising. Advertise with R.E.I.G.N to reach potential customers locally, nationally, and internationally for as low as $150. Yes, that's right, $150 per commercial. We Inspire Network Radio is a new and rapidly growing online radio network that boasts of dynamic seasoned show hosts who are drawing audiences from across the nation and abroad. Africa, Australia, Scotland, Canada, just to name a few. We also have the technical capabilities to advertise your products and services through sound bites, slideshows, and more. No long-term contracts. You pay per show. Advertise on R.E.I.G.N, and you are sure to be a winner. For more information, call us 201-477-0469. Email Annie Bell at wealthmanagement-fs.org.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
Yes, thank you for sticking with us. And after that quick break, now, as you know, R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show is powered by We Inspire Network Radio, and I am your host, Minister Annie Bell. If you are interested in sponsoring a show or advertising on our shows, please contact our marketing department at 201-477-0469. Now, right before we left, we were talking with Lori Townsend, who is our guest for this evening, and talking about the trauma of fatherlessness and why it's so important that our men, our priests, they stand up for the family, that they secure, nurture their families. And you are important. The fathers, the husbands, you are important in the family vision. So welcome back, Lori. Thank you for sticking with us, and I appreciate you sharing so candidly about the life of yours and of Africa's. We were talking about if there was anything, what kind of led her there to put ads up on Backpage, and you were saying that she had a friend who was already doing that. Is that correct?
Yes, correct. And just to iterate a little bit more, growing up, a single mother, I didn't have a lot to offer, so there's a lot of things growing up that kids go without, being, with a single parent, and trying to make ends meet in life, roof over your head, lights, food, sometimes the kids go without, nice clothes or, the new fun things, in Africa, she was a child that, she didn't have a lot of things. We're not a materialistic family, but to have some nice things on occasion would be nice. And
Sure.
and when she went out to Chicago, it's rough out there.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And she didn't have a lot of things. And when she met these girls, and one of them was a little bit older than her. She was established already. She had been doing it for a while. She had a car and a house and nice clothes, and hey, being for somebody that don't have anything, that's a turn on, and so I think that's one of the things, that I'm trying to find the word that I'm looking for, that entices the girls. It enticed Africa. I'm sure if she was here and I could talk to her about it, I could ask her, was it the money? Was it, being able to afford things? And I know she would say, yeah, I'm tired of struggling, So,
Definitely. And when you think about it, again, there's such a high demand on this flesh industry, and so much money to be made. There's, just to put it in perspective, a trafficker who has one victim can make just from her $35,000 to $50,000 a year.
Yeah,
that's a lot of money. Now, just think if he had 5, 10 girls. You are looking at this trafficker who's making buku bucks. And but then if you even look on the strip side, the other side, where it's those who are thinking that, hey, I'm going to do this on my own. I'm going to go in here and become a prostitute or become an escort. I know that's the more a palatable word, but there's a lot of money. There's this one girl who I was watching an interview on, I think it was Intervention, and she said, hey, I make $500 to $1,000 a night. So why am I going to go over here and become a waitress and make $250 plus tips, or what have you? And so it is very enticing, and but it is glamorized. It's over glamorized and not a true depiction of the cost, because
of the cost of what happens.
Yes, being in that industry, you are prey to any pervert with a fantasy out here. I was just watching another documentary it's called R.E.I.G.N Foundation, and they were talking about children in Cambodia who are being pimped out by their own parents. And we're talking about for them to receive $100 to $200 a month. And, there are Americans who go to Cambodia to buy sex and buy virgins. And it's really tremendously dangerous because, again, these men are beating the girls. They're doing so many things. And I know Africa was not trafficked, but if you really consider that poverty, lack of resources can also then be a trafficker. It could be one of the reasons that flow through all those who try to go in by choice into the sex industry. Yeah. So I see what you're saying, and I applaud you for being a single mom. I couldn't do it. I know it's hard. I have 2 kids, and it's like, oh my gosh, if I don't get a 5-minute break from you all. So I know for you to have to, be on point, be mom and dad all day, every day. I mean, that's a huge thing. And so I don't ever want you to feel like you just wasn't enough. You know what I mean? I don't want you to go through the rest of your life undue pressure and undue guilt on yourself because of what you were unable to give. But if you had it, I know you would have. I know you would have given everything you could to Africa if you had it.
Minister Bell, I want to. I don't know if I'm going to, interrupt the flow of how things are going.
Oh no, please.
I want to let people know my one of the reasons, and maybe the only reason, that I'm able to get up and maneuver and maintain a daily life is my faith in God.
Amen.
If it had not been for God, I don't know.
Yes.
I do not know, and I say that with tears welling in my eyes because that's the most honest truth that I can give anybody and everybody. When I had children, I didn't have a lot to give them, but I had love, and I taught them about God and Jesus.
Amen.
And I can say without a shadow of a doubt, I know, despite whatever she may have decided to do, I know my child is resting in the arms of Jesus.
Yeah.
I don't care what she did. I don't care what she didn't do. She was a child of God. She believed, she dedicated her life, and she loved people. And that's one of the aspects that you have to understand. You can have everything in the world, but not have faith in God. You can have nothing in the world and have tremendous faith in God.
That's
and
right.
That's kind of like that's where I am, and that's how I keep going, day after day after day. It'll be 3 years. The first year, the first year I could tell you I believe that she was still here among us because I thought she was being hard-headed and she wasn't calling anybody, and she was just. The second year, last year, was hard for me. It was really, really hard. This year, the third year, I've decided. I'm at a point where I'm okay with this. It's not going to bring her back. It's not going to, And there's a story. There's stories that has to be told. There's a meaning. There's purpose behind this that needs to get out.
Yes.
And that's why when anybody says, "Can we interview you? Can we share your story?" It's 100% yes, but I need to know what is your purpose behind sharing my story, because if it's to demean, these girls, then no, because that's
right.
That's not right.
That's
they're
right.
they're people.
Exactly.
So I apologize for that. I just
I want to provide the platform for you and others to speak on the behalf of the victim, those who cannot speak for themselves. So you are right on point. And I want to also, say that you are at the acceptance part of your grieving process. You've accepted that she can't come back. Nothing that you do will bring her back. But you do have your memories. You have and also a memorial. You can somehow continue to celebrate her life, the legacy that she has left. And so I think that, again, is tremendous. And, of course, if it wasn't for God on our side, yes, I don't know how we would have made it. I know that as a victim, I was a survivor of child sexual abuse. And for years I was thinking, and I didn't know God then, I was thinking, how am I supposed to continue living? I hate my life. Why me? And and it wasn't until I came to Christ to understand that my trial can be my testimony. My test is my testimony. My misery became my ministry. And the same thing with
ministry,
you. Yes. How did you find out about her death?
I found out through a phone call. It started off with a message through Facebook from a family member, an in-law family member from out there in Chicago, and the message stated, "You need to call Cousin Tasha ASAP. It's about Africa." And so you don't think, the worst that I thought was she's either in jail for something, like smoking weed or something, or, just something, we don't know where Africa's at or whatever. You don't think that it's going to be that phone call. So I'm like, yeah, I'll just wait until the morning. The lady messaged me back. She said, Lori, you really, really need to contact Tisha as soon as possible, like right now. So I'm like, okay, what's going on? So I called, and I hadn't seen cousin in a it's been about 3-4 years, and I was, hey, what's going on? She said, hey, Lori, how are you? I was like, I'm all right. I'm just, laying back, relaxing. It's the weekend, my fiance's birthday, so, we were, having a little glass of wine and just relaxing. And I said, how are you? She's like, oh, I'm kind of tired. Just came back from Lake County, Indiana. I was like, oh, wow. She's like, yeah, we had to go identify Africa's body. I didn't pay any attention to it. I said, oh. She said, we had to identify Africa's body, Lori. I'm like, wait, what did you just say? And then started.
Yeah.
She said, they found Africa in a hotel room, and she was strangled to death.
Oh, my God.
And I just I think I blacked out at that moment. And my fiance grabbed the phone, and I said, Africa is dead. And I just, yeah. And he said, I'll have to call you back. I'm trying to get her okay. And like about maybe 3-4 minutes later, she called me back, and she said, she was trying to tell me that she had to identify Africa through pictures because they wouldn't let her, see the body. And she gave me the number for the coroner, and I called, and of course they weren't in, so I called diligently early the next morning, and I kind of like I had an issue because I was calling from the phone and not there visually, and I said, I need to know that this is my child. He's like, well, I can't tell you that. I don't know who you are. I said, I can tell you from head to toe, every scar, every mark, every tattoo on my daughter's body. And I therefore went, and told him a few, things. And he said, I do apologize, and I want to send my condolences to you and your family. This is your daughter. And it became real to me. And then I got phone calls from the detectives and everything, and it's just it's like something 100% from a movie, like from a Lifetime movie that you see, and it's like, this really happening? And then here come the phone calls from it's very surreal. Here come the phone calls from other news stations and the reporters, and the first whole week I was bombarded with interviews, and I accepted the interviews for the simple reason that the information that media gives from the one side isn't accurate. So I need to be a voice for my child, and I need them to know she wasn't a prostitute. If you Google Africa Hardy, it says prostitute. Well, there's nothing I can do to change that except for be, vocal and say, that's not who my child is. That's not who Africa is. She's like I said earlier, she's a daughter, she's a sister, she's a friend. And that's what happens with these girls. They become the victims. They become the prostitutes. They become the hoes, they become this, they become that. And who they really are is forgotten,
Yes. And the reason why it's so important that we talk about it is because, again, our society want to judge and say, oh, she was just a prostitute, so her life doesn't matter. Their lives doesn't, it separates, it almost brings a river of separation between them and me. They are the ones out there doing bad stuff, so So it's not going to happen to me or my kids because we're on this side of the river and we're good. But really, that river is really imaginary. It's an imaginary line that separates because truly we are all human. And we can't dehumanize that person. She is, whether she put herself on as an escort or not on Backpage.com, whether she did that or she's a doctor, a person being a doctor is not completely who that person is. She's also, like you said, a mother, a sister, a niece, a granddaughter, whatever have you. There's more to that person than that occupation. And so, and what I don't want, and what I'm trying to remove is the stigma that those who are caught up and have been victimized in the commercial sex industry, that they are looked upon as lower than or less than. But to God, that soul is just as important as a president of the United States, as a king, as a queen, as a whoever. That soul is very important to God, and so we have to stop demeaning and dehumanizing the victims to make ourselves feel better on this earth. I have to take another quick break. Stay with me. And everybody, we have some, you're going to want to hear what happened next because, again, this story is like a movie out of Lifetime. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Hello, my name is Minister Lloyd Bell Jr., CEO of We Inspire Network Radio.
God bless you, and I am Minister Annie Bell, the COO of We Inspire Network Radio. We had you, our listeners, in mind when we created We Inspire Network Radio, or as we like to call it, WIN Radio.
We incorporated your thoughts and opinions to ensure that our programming will embody true inspiration.
And we will continue to bring relevant and heartfelt shows that cater to the needs and wants of our growing listener base.
Please subscribe to our network so that you can stay connected.
Join us here every week, where together, through God, we win. Hello, everybody. My name is Minister Annie Bell, and I am the host of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, where we endeavor to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as being the vehicle by which we use to bring awareness and resources to the community to aid in the prevention of these abuses. R.E.I.G.N, which is a declarative acronym for the individual survivor, that means I identify myself as a survivor, no longer a victim. R, reclaim my life. E, excel at living. I, illuminate the dark. G, grow in Christ. And N, nurture myself and others. This declarative acronym has developed into a victorious lifestyle brand that empowers and aids in the healing journey of our survivors of abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas. I have also written a book entitled with the namesake, R.E.I.G.N, A Survivor's Guide to Thrive, which is now available at Amazon.com and Barnes & Noble. Pick up your copy today and join me every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. here on We Inspire Network Radio, where together, through God, we win. If we endure, we shall reign with Him.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
All right, we're getting close to the end of our show. Again, you have stayed with us. You're tuning in to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show. I am Minister Annie Bell. Just wanted to let you know we are an outreach of Wealth Management Ministries Incorporated, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and we are endeavoring to bridge the gap between the rich and the poor through the teaching of financial literacy and Christian counseling. So feel free to make donations to our ministry, and it will go towards aiding all of the outreaches that we have. We are now back with Lori Townsend, who has lost her daughter to a murderer who visits Backpage.com. So thank you for staying with us, Lori. I appreciate you being on the show.
Thank you for having me.
You're so welcome. Could you give us the details of what happened that night of her murder?
So apparently, it was a Friday night, and it was around it would be like around 6:15 your time, maybe. I don't. Anyway, it was around 6:15 p.m. and she answered a call and met up with the guy at the hotel room there in Hammond, Indiana, and I guess from what I know, the sex got a little rough, and Africa, said stop, and the guy kind of started switching into the evil person that he was, and she started fighting with him, to get him off of her, and he strangled her, and then he took her into the bathroom, turned the water on, to drown her to make sure that she was dead. The man, the monster, this evil thing that killed my daughter, she wasn't his first victim. The person that killed my daughter has 7 bodies under his name. They've labeled him a serial killer. They caught him within 12 hours. So I do give kudos to the Hammond Police Department for being diligent on their job of finding this man. They found him because the guy stole my daughter's phone, so GPS on the phone, and just cameras from the motel room. Help trace the car that he was driving, and when they found him, he had Africa's phone. He also had the tie. He used a string to strangle Africa with, and he had that on him.
So it was premeditated. He must have brought that with him.
It was. I believe it was. From what I understand about the killer, he killed several. The other 6 women were prostitutes as well. I don't believe that they did Backpage, but they were known in the community out there as being prostitutes, and so he kind of prayed. He preyed on these women, thinking, nobody's gonna care because of what they do. Nobody's gonna miss them. And it just so happened to be that your last victim was your last victim, and they asked him, why did you do it, and he said, it's just something that I wanted to do.
Oh my gosh. I don't know if our listeners have caught on to the fact that Africa, her death, as sad as it is, was not in vain. She was able to catch or get a serial killer caught, and so her death was not in vain. Again, gosh, I wish that was not the case, that she's passed on to the other side of heaven. But we are so glad that this serial killer has been caught. And this man, as I was reading some of the information, that he just told him, hey, I can tell you where 7 bodies are. And he basically just left these bodies to rot in abandoned buildings. And he specifically chose women of the night, because, again, what we're trying to do here is say, just because they chose this profession or were forced into this profession, that does not make that person any less of a human. But he knew that if he were to kill and rape a prostitute, he would probably not get caught. Now, the other thing that really upset me when I read up on this is that he was a sex offender in Texas. Yes. And when he moved to Indiana, he did not register.
He did not register.
Mm-hmm.
Minister Annie Bell, he did not register. They knew he was coming back to Indiana. They knew of this person. And the reason why I say this person or whatever, I refuse to say his name because he gets no notoriety in my book. You know, he's nameless to me, so I do not say his name. But they knew this person was coming back to the state of Indiana. He had to be released from, Texas to go back to Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't register until the day they caught him, and they made him register as a sex offender.
Mm-hmm. And when we come back, I got to take another quick break. When we come back, I want to talk about, what could have been done. Her life could have been saved. So what could have been done? So everyone, please, again, stay tuned. We have some more just riveting interview left, so don't go too far away. We'll be right back.
Hello, everybody. My name is Minister Annie Bell, and I am the host of R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show, where we endeavor to bring talk therapy to survivors of child abuse, sex trafficking, and other traumas, as well as being the vehicle by which we...
Sadly, today, most of us know at least one person that suffers from addiction or substance abuse. Addiction does not discriminate. No age, gender, race, or classes of people are immune to the horrors of addiction. This epidemic has ruined families, claimed lives, and left loved ones devastated. Over 100 people die from overdoses daily, and over 20 million Americans suffer from some form of addiction. For this reason, author Lloyd H. Bell Jr. has written the book Clean and Serene. The author is an addictions counselor and recovering addict of over 13 years. He knows and has first-hand experience of being caught in the grips of addiction. Clean and Serene provides experience, strength, and hope for the still suffering addict. It can also be used as a tool in recovery. Whether it is used in a group setting or individually, this book was written to assist in the recovery process and encourage. Integrating inspirational, encouraging, and challenging scriptures, the author has provided a resource that is sure to change lives. If you or someone you know is battling with addiction, this book is for you. If you are in recovery, this is a great resource to add to your toolbox. If you are a group leader or addictions counselor, this is an awesome book for group therapy. Clean and Serene. Scriptural Meditations for Recovery is available nationwide in both ebook and print. Get your copy or a copy for some you know today from Amazon or Barnes & Noble bookstore. For less than $10, you can potentially change the life of someone currently paying the high cost of living with an addiction.
Welcome back to R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk Radio Show with your host, Minister Annie Bell.
All right, folks, we are tracing on the last quarter hour of our show today. Welcome back. Thank you for staying tuned with us until the end of the show. And just want to give out some phone numbers for those who might be either in the midst of or who knows someone or sees something that looks a little peculiar. Sex trafficking, Polaris is 1-888-373-7888. Child abuse, if you're suspecting someone is abusing a child or someone is a victim, 1-800-4A-CHILD. That number is 1-800-422-4453. sexual assault, rape. That's 1-800-656-4673. Domestic violence, 1-800-787-3224. We're not asking you to be exactly right. We're not asking you to be the investigator. We don't want you to go rescue anyone. We just want you to make a call so that those who are trained and to identify and trained to rescue, that they can go in there and pull them out. So I know also that some of this conversation today may have triggered those who have gone through and this type of trauma. And I just want to let you know that you don't have to suffer alone. Give us a call at 201-477-0469. And we have those people in place, ministers and counselors in place to help you and get you connected. Thank you so much, Lori, for staying with us. And we talked about the killer being a serial killer. But again, we talked about how he could have been caught, or he could have been kept from killing Africa. What do you think the law enforcement could have done differently, or the judicial system?
I think that he should have been registered, and I think his whereabouts should have been, he should have been. They should have known his whereabouts. Just like with anybody else who registers as a sex offender, they know their whereabouts, their comings and goings. He had full range, and so it happened. But I do want to say this, if it wasn't him, it could have been somebody else, and if it wasn't Africa, it's somebody else, it's always somebody else. But I think when this happened with Africa, it became a national story, and people's eyes started opening, and we started getting the need of knowledge of what's really going on. And look, like 3 years later, almost 3 years later, we get Backpage.com shut down because it's a nuisance. It's known to this is part of the problem, is along with sex trafficking that you don't know or completely understand. People don't understand about, or this, the porn industry. I worked in the hotel industry, and and I as being a mother and now going through this, I could kind of figured some stuff out, and there'd be young girls coming through, and and I'd grab their hand and I'd pull them aside, and I said, whatever it is that you're doing, visiting or whatever, I'm not trying to get in your business, but please be careful. Be careful. And if anything you think is going to happens here, please call, And they're like, oh, okay. And I said, my name is Lori, and my daughter's name was Africa. And if you get a moment, Google her. And they're like, oh, okay. And then like the next day they'd come down and be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. Like, I just want you to be careful, whatever it is that you're doing, or if you know anybody, just, we have to, it's been swept up under the rug for how long,
Yes.
For too many years. And let's grab that rug, shake it out. Let's get it in the air. Let's talk about it. It's not going away. It's not going to stop. But we need to have our daughters, our sons, our children, they need to be informed,
That's right.
They need to know, these phone numbers, they need to know that this isn't the only way, this isn't, this isn't, do not let this be your end, Don't let your mother have to, do interviews, let's start wisening up, There's just so much more than an hour, interview or, conversation, to talk about. And it needs to be talked about. And kill the taboos, and stop thinking that it doesn't happen, because it does. You know, our children are being snatched at an alarming rate. You know, on my Facebook page alone, I've got like 5 mothers searching for their daughters.
Oh my gosh.
You know, where are these little girls at? You know, well, I can almost assume where they're at, but I don't want to be a assumptor. You know, You know, but it happens. It happens every day.
It does. And I don't know if you are a member of R.E.I.G.N Facebook page or not, but please become a member, and then feel free to share those mothers who are looking for their children. We share that type of information on our page as well, because we want to, again, effect change. What words of wisdom, as we are about to wrap up this hour, what word of wisdom or inspiration would you share to other mothers who may be going through the loss of their loved one through murder?
I think we share a despair of it's my fault, and I want people to know it's not your fault. It's uncontrollable, you know, and we have no control of this. The only thing that we can control is allowing it to eat at our lives. I refuse. I won't allow that to happen, because that's giving the murderer power, in essence, you know. And you took one thing from me. You're not going to take anything else from me. We just have to know it's not our fault. And if you are a believer in Christ, rest in Christ. If you're not, I pray that a seed is planted, and that maybe one day you might walk through the church doors and you realize, help comes from the Lord, and ultimately I will forever and always share this story, because it's the purpose behind my child's death. It's the reason why I believe it happened. They say that there's a meaning for everything. Well, there's a purpose for everything, and this was the purpose. As you said earlier, Africa's death wasn't in vain, and I believe that.
Amen. And God is not the one who orchestrated or took her life, but like you said, there's sometimes He allows things to happen, and we won't understand everything till we get to the great by and by. But if you, like I said, rest in the Lord, it will make your life here on earth more palatable. Yeah. Are there any future endeavors? Are you starting an organization, or do you have a tradition that you're going to do to continue celebrating Africa's life?
Since it started, I've wanted to open a nonprofit. I want it to be for the awareness and education of things that happen in, the sex trade industry, and be like a safe haven. I wanted the organization to be called Red Lips for Africa, but the name can always change. But that's my future, and that's my endeavor until it happens.
Amen. That's wonderful. And I want to extend to you that if you need some help, or whatever you need that you think I can help you with, feel free to give me a call. You have my email. You have all of my contacts. I appreciate you so very much for being on the show today, Lori, and all that you have shared with us. Thank you so much for being so candid in your conversation.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, guys, it's time for wisdom to reign. It is momentum. It's called momentum. Keep it moving. Sometimes we get into a place in life where we're at a standstill or we get stuck. Keep it moving. When you have that inertia going on, that momentum behind you, it'll make things easier. To make a donation or to get in touch with me or my team, please go to www.wealthmngt.org or follow us on Facebook and Twitter at R.E.I.G.N. Stop Abuse and Abolish Sex Trafficking. Also, you can go to YouTube channel and catch us there, R.E.I.G.N Blog Talk, and become a subscriber so you won't miss great shows like this. So repeat after me. I reclaim my life. I excel at living. I illuminate the dark. I grow in Christ. I nurture myself and others. Let's reign together with Christ. See you next Tuesday at 8 p.m. Good night, everybody.
Happy bound, afraid to let it out, shackles, the chain, the hurt, the guilt, stain. I'm more than a conqueror. I'm more than a victim. I fight, I win. The chains are broken. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, together. Say it. I reign, you reign, we reign, he reigns. I reign, we reign together, 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 together.